Right then, I've seen a fair bit of chatter about this over the last few days, so I figured we'd jump into a video really quickly and talk about this. There are some more structured theory videos coming up in the very near future, but today we're going to have a chat about the possibility of getting some news about Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3. Whether that's going to be very soon or in the near future, we're going to have a chat about it. We're also going to chat about Ever Crisis a little bit as well, because I think we'll probably get some chapter updates for the first soldier very soon, so that's going to be interesting for us. But anyway, like the video, subscribe for future content, but let's jump into this. So, recently, there has been a lot of talk, people saying, oh, we're going to hear about Final Fantasy VII Remake at Gamescom, or at some point in the very near future. And a lot of that seems to stem from some talk about Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. There was an interview going on with Famitsu a few months ago, I think it was, and co-director of Ever Crisis, Motomu Toriyama, basically said that by the time of Ever Crisis's second anniversary, they may have started to release some information about the final part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake project. And that's it. That is pretty much where all of this is coming from, because we have got the second anniversary of Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis coming up in the very near future. That's on September 7th, I think it is. September 9th? I'm going to say September 7th. I feel like it's September 7th, but I'll flash it up on screen anyway. So yeah, that's coming up very soon, and we have got a couple of events dotted around that. Now, the first one that everyone's getting a little bit hyped for is Gamescom, which is coming on the 19th of August. And I mean, I do think it's possible. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to rule it out. We do know that Square Enix are going to be there at Gamescom, but I don't know, it feels too soon. It really does feel too soon for me to be coming out with any real substantial news of Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3. I was kind of expecting things to start happening next year for a release in early 2027, but I don't know shit. So, who knows? We could be about to get some news at Gamescom. Personally, I think rather than Gamescom, it would end up being Tokyo Game Show, which is at the end of September. That's on the 25th of September, I think it is. So, yeah, it feels to me like Tokyo Game Show is probably more likely as an option for when we'd get some Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 news. I could be wrong on that, obviously. I mean, Gamescom's a pretty big event. Gamescom will probably have more eyes on it globally than Tokyo Game Show, I would guess. I think Gamescom does bigger numbers. I'm not checking. Like, let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong. But I get the feeling that Gamescom would probably reach a wider audience, so maybe it'd be more beneficial for them to do something at Gamescom rather than waiting until Tokyo Game Show. We've also got the discussion of that pesky Final Fantasy IX remake, and I mean, does it even exist anymore? I don't even know. I mean, I'm kind of giving up hope a little bit on the Final Fantasy IX remake. I don't feel like we get the 9 remake and FF7R news on the same event. I think they split them up. So I think if we get Final Fantasy VII remake news at Gamescom, they won't then do Final Fantasy IX remake. They'll leave it till Tokyo Game Show. I don't know. I'm pretty confused just all round as far as the Final Fantasy IX remake goes. So I know. Let's just ignore the Final Fantasy IX remake. It's not real. It doesn't exist. It's never going to happen. We're never going to get news about it. So let's just forget about it. Yeah, let's just not look. Let's just pretend that it doesn't I mean, let's just admit that it doesn't exist. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. But as for Remake Part 3 news, I'm 50-50 on Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show. In fact, I'm probably more 60-40 in favour of Tokyo Game Show, if I'm being completely honest with you. But if we do get anything, I don't think it's going to be anything substantial. I think it's going to be something like a title, and that's it. I don't think we're going to see much. We'll maybe see something just to tease us a little bit about how Final Fantasy VII Rebirth ended. Because, you know, the ending of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was a little bit crazy. There was people dead and not dead, and there was tears in the sky and things like that. So, you know, there's stuff going on in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's ending. So maybe they could tease us a little bit regarding that. I'm not too sure. But I don't think it's going to be any kind of big substantial thing. I don't think we're going to get to see gameplay. I'd be amazed if we got to see gameplay. I mean, it all really depends how far ahead they are. We know that the voice actors have been in doing their bits, so they've got some progress at the very least. We know that the storyline has been all completed and everything since, I think it was late last year. I believe we heard that the storyline and the scenario was all done and completed. It was either late last year or early this year. So we know that they have made a fair bit of progress on it. I just think, given the size of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, we still have to revisit some of those areas from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But then you've got to add in Wutai. Then you've got to add in the Northern Continent in its completion, with the North Crater and everything like that. Bone Village, I assume, will pop up at some point, you would hope. So, you know, there's a few things that need to add there. Then you've got the Medial Continent. Then you've got Rocket Town and things like that. There are so many places that we've not been to. So you've got to add all of those new places, and then you've got to reincorporate a lot of the places we've already been to. You've got Midgar and new areas of Midgar, and this is all assuming that everything just pans out the same as it does in the OG, which it won't. So then you've got all these additional things that are probably going to take up time. I think they've got a lot on. I think this game could end up being huge, and that makes me think that we're probably not there yet. So I'm not going to get too excited about getting Final Fantasy VII news. I'm just not expecting it. I'm definitely not getting excited about getting Final Fantasy IX news, because we all know that that's not going to happen, and if we don't look, it might happen, so don't look. And then that really leaves us with things that we already know about. Square Enix, there was an image that did the rounds from one of the Square Enix shareholders meetings, I believe it was, and that details all of the things that are being released over the next few months. We've got Bravely Default, we've got FF16 going to Xbox and Windows, we've got Romancing Saga 2 going to Nintendo Switch 2. We've got Tactics being released in September. You've got Dragon Quest 1 and 2 in October. We've got Octopath Traveler 0 coming in December, which I'm very excited about. And we've got the announcement of Remake Intergrade going to Switch 2 and eventually to Windows and Xbox as well. So that is the lineup of things that they've got going on for the rest of this year. So there's no space for anything to come out this year. There's nothing else that's going to be announced that's going to come out this year. But we already know about all of these things. These are all things that we know about. So if Square Enix are going to turn up at Gamescom, and they are going to turn up at Tokyo Game Show, and the Game Awards, I would assume, there is an increasing probability that we will get something. I do think Gamescom's too soon, but I think probably by the end of the year we'll have heard something. That's my guess, at least. Let me know what your guess is in the comments below. The only other thing to talk about is, with the anniversary of Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, there comes the probability that we will see some new chapters for the First Soldier get announced. So keep an eye out. I will watch and see what's going on. And as soon as I hear that anything First Soldier related is coming up, I'll let everyone know, and we will be ready to cover it, because this Sephiroth Masamune story is starting to heat up and get a little bit interesting, so it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. It'll definitely feed into Remake Part 3 as well, so it's definitely worth watching. But yeah, let me know what you're thinking in the comments below about which events you think we're going to see things at this year. So we've got Gamescom coming up next week, we've got Tokyo Game Show coming up at the end of September, and then we have the Game Awards in December, I think it is. I'm pretty sure that's in December, maybe late November, I can't remember. But I would say they are the big shouts for when we're going to get at least the title. Also, we'll do it again. Guess what you think the title is going to be in the comments below. I'm still furious it isn't going to be Reunion, so I don't feel like I can partake in this game. But, you know, give me your suggestions in the comments below. It almost certainly won't be Reunion. There's like a 10% chance that they'll use it, and I'm so pissed off about it, because it would just genuinely be the perfect subtitle for the game. It really would be. Oh, it pisses me off so much. Anyway, like the video, subscribe for future content, leave your thoughts in the comments, but more importantly than all of that, have a great day.